Shabbos segment of the Aish Partners Conference. It's hard to believe after this type of a Shabbos that the best is still yet to come. To be honest with you, I had a stressful last few minutes. My wife, bless her, back in Israel, is due to give birth any day. And so when Shabbos was over, I carefully turned on my phone and waited for my WhatsApp messages to come in. And then Rabbi Feldheim went overtime. But thank God we're still okay, and that's why I'm here now. But it's a pleasure to welcome you back here after really such a spectacular Shabbos, and really, I can't even thank them enough. I'm just going to thank Chumi Van and her catering crew that catered this entire beautiful Shabbos. I also want to thank the staff at the Renaissance Newport Beach Hotel who have been spectacular in making sure that everything worked for us over here. From beginning to end, they were committed to making sure that our Shabbos experience was authentic, from the pictures in the bathrooms to the elevator people and the staff. Really spectacular. I also there's a team of volunteers who came here from the Project Inspire crew from New York. You've seen them all around the entire Shabbos, and nothing here would have happened without them, so I want to thank them as well. You know, in putting together not only a program, but any program in a Torah organization such as Aish HaTorah, there needs to be Torah guidance. And sometimes things can get really tricky. Every month, the entire Aish HaTorah leadership has a Zoom phone call with Rabbi Yitzchak Berkowitz Shlita. Rabbi Yitzchak Berkowitz Shlita is the manhig, is the leader of Aish HaTorah, and the questions and answer sessions that go on really are beyond belief. The questions that come up, the answers needed within every branch, within every program. There's tremendous amount of guidance needed. And even through this program itself, whether it's halachic questions in Jewish law, whether it's directional questions, we've had the tremendous honor and pleasure of having the guidance of Rabbi Yitzchak Berkowitz. And he sends, although not here this weekend with us, he sends special greetings and a special message from his home in Yerushalayim. And I play for you a video message directed for this crowd here tonight from Rabbi Yitzchak Berkowitz Shlita from Yerushalayim.
Good evening to all of you. It's so nice to be part of this from Jerusalem. I understand that at this point, you've sampled some of the wealth of our heritage. You've tasted some of the beauty of Judaism. And I'm sure you're inspired. You want more, you want to share. Aish HaTorah has always been at the forefront of Jewish education to those that perhaps didn't know there was anything relevant, anything that would make a difference to their lives. Join us, partner with us. Study yourselves, become more informed Jews, become more proud Jews. Respect this wealth of wisdom that Judaism only's got. And then help support us in this mission to bring back that Jewish pride, the appreciation for who we are as a people. Partner with us. Help make it happen. This world can be so much of a better planet with the Jews at the forefront of sharing values with all of humanity. Be part of it. Support it. Help make it happen. And yes, indeed, this world will be a different place. Humanity will wake up to the greatness of life as understood by us, as we received it from the Creator himself. May you all be well, successful, and proud Jews. Thank you.
Throughout this entire Shabbos, we've met so many amazing Aish rabbis and Aish leaders from around the world. Friday night, we had a session run by the Hasbara leaders here who joined us this weekend. We have a shout out for those Hasbara Fellowship. Were they not unbelievable? These are students on campuses and leading groups on campuses that are fighting anti-Semitism and BDS on campus, doing the work that we read about in the news. They're doing the work on the ground. And they were led and are led by Rabbi Elliot Matthias, who joined us this Shabbos. True leader. Their true leader. But Rabbi Elliot Matthias wasn't done with just Hasbara Fellowships. We know that in an international educational outreach organization like Aish Torah, we constantly have to update and upgrade our programs, our methods, our material. And that a lot of that depends on the different areas that we're working in. And there's no place more complex than the Big Apple, than New York City. And so it was just that. After much restructuring and trying to figure out the best way to bring our Aish Torah message to the Big Apple, Rabbi Elliot Matthias took on additional responsibility to revamp and recreate Aish Torah's programming in New York City. And to tell you a little bit more about that, I'd like to introduce to you Hasbara Fellowships' leader and now Aish New York's leader, Rabbi Elliot Matthias.
Okay, Shavua Tov, everyone. It's a fantastic Shabbos. This is actually, I calculated, this is the 17th Partners Conference, the Aish Partners Conference I've been to. Now, it was easy for me to calculate it because this week was my wife and I's 16th anniversary, and I actually had my Ufruf, which is the celebration before you get married, at the Aish Torah Partners Conference 16 years ago. So this is really part of my DNA. And as Yossi said, I've had the merit to found Hasbara Fellowships, work with thousands of students that have been involved with Hasbara Fellowships. And while I'm continuing to do that, we've realized within Aish Torah, the leadership of Aish Torah with Rabbi Berg, that there's a challenge that we have to meet. You know, I don't know if people have heard, but there's a few Jews in New York. I don't know if anyone's noticed that. In fact, there's about 1.5 million Jews in New York, which, if you take the Jewish population of Boston, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Chicago, San Francisco combined, there are more Jews in New York than all of those cities combined. Aish Torah has to be in New York City, and we have to do it big in New York City. Now, years ago, Aish started a branch in New York, and it thrived on the Upper West Side under the leadership of Rabbi Hanan Kaufman, Rabbi Yitzchak, and others. And we reached thousands of young Jews in New York City and made a major mark. But things changed in New York. The location was in the Upper West Side. The demographic of the Upper West Side has changed. And other changes were made. Strategy was changed. Funding changed. And for the last few years, really, it's unbelievable. Aish has not really had a presence in New York. And so we're changing that. And Aish is about to go big in New York. We are adding some amazing staff. Myself and Rabbi Adam Jacobs, who worked for Aish New York for many years, have come together. And we've already added Rabbi Saj Freiberg, who's here, who has been doing outreach in Miami for many years. He's joining us in New York. Also, Rabbi Moshe and Liat Meyerfeld, who've helped lead Aish UK for many years. We've pulled them back to the other side of the ocean. And our strategy, because we know in New York we have to go big, we have to reach thousands of people, is really threefold. Number one, we want to focus on executives. New York, while Jerusalem, Israel is the spiritual capital of the world, New York is the financial capital of the world. There are movers and shakers in New York amongst the Jewish community that literally can change the Jewish people with their influence. And so, number one, we're trying to reach out to these types of people, get them into Torah learning, get them into rekindling their connection to Judaism. We already have today over 60 executives in New York City that are studying Torah with us. These are people who are running hedge funds. These are people that are in all different types of business, people that not only with their money can fund what we're doing and are helping us expand, but because of their influence, because of the connections they have, they can really help us accomplish our goals. Number two, we're relaunching into young professionals. The Mayor Felds I mentioned, we've already we've opened up a place on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. Lower Manhattan is really where so many young professionals are at, and we're going to be focusing there, as well as Williamsburg and Brooklyn, which is a super hip, cool, not the Satmar part of Williamsburg, but the other part of Williamsburg, which is known as a very super hip, cool place, we're going to be focusing. And thirdly, on college campuses. We have 2 families now already working on college campuses. We're looking to expand all across New York City as well. Like I said, we know we have to go big in New York City. We have to reach thousands of Jews, and the ripple from New York City should go, we hope, way beyond New York City as well. So this is just the beginning. We've just started over the last couple months, and we hope next year we can come back and report back the tremendous success we've had in reaching thousands of Jews across New York City. Shua Tov.
Thank you, Elliot. We're going to have branded Aish Torah Streimels given out in Williamsburg for next year's conference. Over Shabbos, we experienced the program, and I know I mentioned it a few times over the weekend. It's just worth stressing again. Rabbi Itiel Goldwicht was here with us the entire Shabbos and had so much to do with putting together the program. Rabbi Goldwicht is the educational director of a program of Aish Torah called Aish Israel. Aish Israel is a program that focuses on Israelis, on more secular Israelis, people who are looking to be more connected to their own Judaism in Israel. In addition, they have a focused program on soldiers. And in the Aish Torah World Center, in the Dan Family of Canada World Center in Jerusalem, hundreds of soldiers come a week to experience programming about their own heritage and about the history of the land that they're defending. With us tonight is a special film that Aish Israel just recently put together. It has not been shown. In fact, since Shabbat ended over here around 2-3 hours ago now, we've had 7 different versions sent to us. So this is really fresh off the press. In fact, as I'm standing here, we could be getting another. With that said, it's my pleasure to introduce to you a brand new film from the Aish Israel division of Aish Torah Jerusalem. Ladies and gentlemen, Aish Israel.
Israel is facing difficult times. Attacks from Gaza, terror, and the threat of rockets are a source of fear to the people of Israel. But what's worse is that we're facing challenges from within. Apathy, conflict, and growing resentment between Jews is causing a divide in Am Yisrael. But there is hope. The Jewish people are truly amazing. We believe that everything could change when we come together as a people and live up to our potential. It will empower us, unite us, and bring out the best in us. We want every Jew in Israel to have a chance to connect to their heritage, to their land, and to each other. And in a country like Israel, you gotta be creative. Imagine hundreds of Israeli mothers creating grassroots communities, bringing Jewish learning, unity, and values to their families and cities.
קהילת אמהות אימהות זאת קבוצת נשים שהמטרה שלה זה לייצר שינוי, קודם כל במשפחה, ואם את מייצרת שינוי במשפחה, את מייצרת שינוי בקהילה, והלוואי שגם נייצר שינוי בעולם.
אני חושבת שאם אני מסתכלת היום אחורה ואני רואה מאיפה התחלנו, אני יכולה לבכות מהתרגשות. היום יש גם מפגשי זוגות, וזה נמצא בכל מיני מקומות בארץ. יש כל כך הרבה פעילויות. מי היה מאמין שאנחנו נגיע למקומות כאלה?
שכונה שיש בה אימהות חזקה, שיש שם בנות שהן מרימות והן חזקות ויש להן הרבה אנרגיה, תשנה את פני העיר, אין ספק.
מי שמחפשת באמת אנשים איכותיים ועשייה חברתית, לעשות, לא לדבר, לעשות דברים מדהימים בחברה שלנו, זה בקהילת אימהות אימהות.
The warmth and support of the Jewish community in the United States creates the ideal setting to ignite the next generation of Israeli Jewish leaders. With Triumph Leadership Missions and Bring Israel Home, young IDF soldiers and students are getting exposed to campus life, balancing business and Jewish life, being empowered to take responsibility for their friends in the diaspora and in Israel.
קיבלנו הזדמנות בעצם לעשות כמו תגלית הפוכה, להגיע מכאן לארצות הברית.
It was like a dream, why would anyone take me now to the US?
פגשנו אנשים מדהימים, קהילות יהודיות, אנשי עסקים יהודים.
When I came to the US, all of a sudden I was exposed to this huge community that cares so much about our existence.
מהשבת שעשינו בלוס אנג'לס, בשכונה היהודית, זה לדעתי נתן לי את התחושה הכי של משפחה.
פשוט פתחו את הלב בצורה כזו שלא האמנת שמישהו אוהב אותך, עוד לפני שהוא הכיר אותך בכלל.
חזרתי לארץ מהמסע עם תחושות של גאווה.
גם באמת יותר להעריך איפה אני נמצאת, ומה שאנחנו עושים פה, ואת השירות שלנו.
הזכיר לי כמה אני אוהב את המדינה שלי, וכמה הייחודיות הזאת של להיות יהודי בארץ ישראל.
וזה ממש גרם לי להתחבר יותר, ולקבל קצת יותר את הזהות היהודית, כן ללכת וכן לבוא לכנסים שאתם עושים, שנפתחתי ואמרתי, וואו, זה מעניין, זה זווית שלא הכרתי, אני רוצה להכיר.
This trip has shifted the way I view my culture, the way I view my religion, the way I want to raise my kids, the way I want to acquire my education.
At a place and time when people are most open, Aish Israel at the Western Wall is designed to inspire and connect. Tens of thousands of Israelis join us every year for bar mitzvahs, Teudat Zehut, Jewish identity, and holiday musical programs. Schools, families, IDF units, and companies come from around the country to Aish Israel to learn more about the meaning and values of our heritage and people.
משהו אחר לגמרי.
באמת היה מקסים. חוויה שכל יהודי צריך לעבור פעם אחת בחיים. חשוב מאוד.
להרגיש, וואו, אני ישראלית, וואו, אני שייכת לעם הזה, וואו, אני התארחתי במקום שהוא באמת מדהים, ואתם נהדרים, אתם נפלאים, אני לא יכולתי לבקש משהו יותר טוב לתלמידים שלי.
Israel is our home base. When the people of Israel are united and connected, we can change everything. We will fulfill our potential and impact the entire world. Join us. It can only happen if we do this together.
Was spoken about over Shabbos, the concept of responsibility bringing ability and not vice versa. That's been the message of this weekend, that all of us, so many of us have already stepped up in responsibility roles and have taken things on in our branches in our community. And that has led to ability. While not sitting around and waiting for other people to step up and do it. As Charlie mentioned, as Tzvi Sittner mentioned today, I'm sure somebody else will take care of the problem. And Aish HaTorah's branch in Penn State, they were facing a crisis. It was a financial crisis. And many of the students and partners of Aish HaTorah felt that someone, I'm sure, will step up to the plate and take care of it. They were right. There's a student sitting here in the room who was a student in Penn State at the time. Just a student. But Seth Cohn stood up and said, if I don't take responsibility, it's not going to get done. Seth created a program called Saving Aish Penn State, and indeed he did. And to tell you about that, and just a small example of the students and leaders that Aish has created around the world, I introduce to you Seth Cohn.
There are two words that we have heard together this conference, more so than There are two more words we've heard together more than any other two words this conference. I think you can guess them. It's taking responsibility. It was a common theme when I was at Aish Torah. I would even venture to say that it is the Aish mantra. When I was taking classes with Rabbi Elsant, Rabbi Coopersmith, and Rabbi Bruckheimer, it was coming up all the time. When I was taking classes, there was one thing that stood out to me when Rabbi Coopersmith was teaching a lecture. He was telling us stories about people taking responsibility for their friends, for their families, for their communities, for a cause that was near and dear to them. It had me wondering, as we hear these inspiring stories in Aish Torah's main building, when we hear these inspiring stories as a society, as people, how often is it that we decide to make that change and bring positivity to the world? I want you to think about this question, and I'm going to come back to it at the end. But now I want to talk to you about my story and how I ended up at Penn State. I decided to go to Penn State because it's got the world's best meteorology program. That's right, as of my graduation in May, I'm an official meteorologist, an official weatherman. If you've got any questions about this amazing... If you have any questions about this amazing weather here, or for my fellow East Coasters, the terrible weather back home, the polar vortex is returned, unfortunately. I'd be more than happy to answer those weather questions afterwards. So going to school education was first priority, and I wanted to go to school that had a good Jewish connection, good Jewish body, but it wasn't the first priority. Priority was education. And I quickly realized at school that I was lacking meaning in my Jewish faith, in my connectivity. I even considered transferring back home to University of Maryland, which has a good Jewish connection, obviously didn't stay tuition, and it would be a better Jewish connection for myself. Thankfully, it never came to that. I was reading through a Hillel newsletter, got connected to this guy. His name, you might know him, is Rabbi Ricky, who I'm so happy is here with us today. I don't know where you are, thank you. As you hear through this story, I would not be here today if it weren't for Rabbi Ricky and for all the amazing people at Aish, so thank you so much. Meeting Rabbi Ricky, I got to know him, got to schmooze, some Torah learning, which turned into coming to an occasional Shabbat meal. Eventually, that turned to taking the Maimonides class, and by the end of my freshman year, I went to Israel, where I did Birthright, Extended, and did J internship, where half the day I was at yeshiva, and the other half of the day I was doing custom weather research with a professor at Hebrew University. When I came back for my sophomore year, I knew I wanted to get more involved, that this stuff that these Orthodox people are telling me, it's actually pretty right, it's pretty true, it's a good way of living life. So I took the second level Maimonides class called Whiskey and Wisdom. We had some good times in that class. I came to Shabbat meals more often. And I did some more weekly learning, depending on the semester, Tuesdays or Wednesdays or Thursdays. And by my final year, my senior year this past year, I became more involved. I started learning on my own, learning the weekly Parsha. I came to Shabbat meals almost every Friday and every Saturday. And by the time I hit my last semester this past spring, I made the big change. I started keeping Shabbos regularly. And I did the best I could in my apartment with my 5 non-Jewish roommates to keep a kosher kitchen. It was not the funnest experience, but I learned a lot. I had grown up going to a pluralistic Jewish day school, and I learned a lot. The do's, the don'ts, the yeses, the no's, kosher, this, that, no cheeseburgers. I had a pretty strong foundation. But I never really got that inspiration in my education, which I'm so thankful for, but I never got that until I came to Aish at Penn State. And I always had a strong connection to my faith. My grandfather was a Holocaust survivor, so I felt especially connected. But I didn't really feel that inspiration until I came to Aish for events, for learning, and for every single time to come to Shabbos. This is only scratching the surface, because I got to learn that Shabbat's more than just turning your phone off, but it's an amazing time to spend time with family and friends. That while praying, while it sometimes can feel like a chore, is an amazing opportunity for self-reflection. So when I found out that our branch at Penn State was not only going to lose one couple, but both couples were going to unfortunately not come back, and the campus program is going to get shut down, I was in disbelief for how much it had given to me. But it wasn't about me, because I'm about to graduate. So if Aish left Penn State, What's there for me? That doesn't matter. I'm going to go do whatever I want. It was for the students that are there now and the students that could be going there that would lose that connection to their faith and their heritage that ACE provided for me and the students there. So I said, no, we cannot take this for an answer. So I decided I would try and do something about it. At first, I met with 3 of my friends, Rachel Goldberg, Lauren Shane, and Brian Wegman. We all interviewed each other, we told our ACE stories, and we sent it out as a video online. It didn't gain a whole lot of traction. We decided we wanted to give it one more effort. But now we're in the last week of the semester. Finals week is approaching. We got final exams, projects, essays that we've got to get done. But we decided this was too important to us, so we give it one last crack. Instead of doing 4 interviews, we did 20. Students and alumni of H Penn State, where we told our H stories. We made 2 videos instead of 1. The first video is a 40-minute video, each person's interview complete. The second is a 4-minute trailer video getting the best tidbits, the best gold nuggets, drawing the emotion out of each person's story into an accessible 4-minute video. And we put those both on our fundraising website. We had 5 days before finals week. 5 days to reach our campaign goal. 5 days to save our campus. 5 days to raise $100,000. Thankfully, unfortunately, I don't have the time to show it to you, but our videos were very powerful, and through some of the help from a couple of ACE branches, we had matching donors that would lower our total to $30,000. If we could get to 30, they'd get us the remaining 70 to take us to 100. We would all huddle up every afternoon in the ACE Boys House. My slogan to them was, from Timbuktu to China, you call your mom, you call your dad, you call your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, your niece, your nephew, heck, call your next door neighbor, call your cat, call your dog, call anybody that's gonna donate. Because we have to raise a heck of a lot of money. And that's what we did for 5 days. And we did it. We raised and we met our goal. And I can say with much joy and much happiness that the Molina family is happily and proudly serving the Jewish community at Penn State this year. I learned a lot throughout this process. Hard work, perseverance. Another thing I learned was that fundraising sucks. Calling strangers and asking them for money, who wants to do that? I'm sure some of you in the room have done it. Nobody likes it. You have to tell people that whatever their money is going to do is going to help you feel more connected, that their money coming in is going to meet the expectations coming out. I think I grasped this pretty well. I was the CEO and CFO of my own startup company at school where we did some weather forecasting, working on a really tight budget. So I know that wherever you put your money, you have to get the best bang for your buck. If you're not getting a bang for your buck, you got to put your money elsewhere. Money is a very challenging and divisive topic, so I'm not going to talk about it. So I'm so lucky I had unlimited minutes. I went out and looked at my phone bill. I made over 600 phone calls those 5 days. So I'm done. I'm retiring from asking for money. Done with it. But what I will talk about are those expectations. What was going on at Penn State? Did they really deserve the money? What was going on in campus? So I'm going to tell you a few things that happened. Because Penn State's a special place, a place where things happen there that don't happen in other places, not on other college campuses, period. The first is how Penn State got their first kosher dining hall. Now, for some context, Penn State didn't have a kosher dining hall until about 1.5 years ago. But what we did have was kosher food during Pesach. Rabbi Ricky did an amazing mitzvah. 1 week of the year for Passover, we would have kosher food in one of the dining halls because Rabbi Ricky would kosher it so we could have as much matzah pizza, matzah lasagna as we wanted. One student was inspired by what Rabbi Ricky was doing. His name is Aaron Goldberg. He thought to himself, if we could have kosher food 1 week of the year, why couldn't we have it all year round? Look at other schools with similar populations that have kosher food all year round. And no, Rabbi Ricky probably thought to himself, 1 week? I can't do a whole year, there's no way. So Aaron Goldberg, he went to the heads of the dining hall administrators, and after several rounds of meetings, we got that kosher dining hall the next year. It was through the hard work from Rabbi Ricky and the inspiration from Rabbi Ricky and the determination from Aaron Goldberg to get this done And I've got to say, the food at this kosher place is amazing. Whether it's the fried chicken, the steak, the cranberry brisket, it is amazing. If you're ever at Penn State, I highly encourage you to go. What else have we done on campus? What's going on the ground? I can tell you, I don't know the exact number, but I know for a fact that thousands of different plates of food have been served on campus for students for the first Shabbos meal, first holiday, first event, for them to experience what it truly means to be a Jew and have that experience. The second is the learning, the Maimonides classes, where hundreds of students have gone on taking Maimonides 1, Whiskey and Wisdom. We get to tap into our faith and really learn what that means to be a Jew. And the third are the trips. Hundreds of students on Israel trips, Poland trips, Brazil, England, Spain, over the last 5 years. Dozens of these students have gone on to yeshiva and seminary programs. I'm one of them right here. And when I went to Aish HaTorah this past summer, I met some of my former classmates. Rabbi Josh told me that some of these students that have come back are now openly and proudly wearing yarmulkes on campus. For some of you, this might sound like a nice thing, but let me put this into context for you. Penn State doesn't have an established Orthodox community. We've got the 2 Chabad rabbis, the Aish rabbi, and that's it. We don't have a kosher establishment until this recently came. So to have 4 students openly and proudly show their faith on campus, when as recently as last year there was an anti-Semitic attack against a Jewish fraternity, is an amazing feat to show that they are not afraid and they're proud to be Jews. But it doesn't end there. We've got students regularly keeping Shabbos, and 5 of them are in the Aish Boys House, where classes are held, Shabbos meals are held. And this last story is the fundraising story. There is no single event that better demonstrates an organization's success than when the students, the beneficiaries, are the ones that are fighting for it during the most challenging of times, the week before finals week. We had our grades that we had to worry about, but we put them on the line because this was too important to us. It was too important to us at Penn State. The students wearing kippahs, the students wearing yarmulkes that were keeping Shabbos and that were proud to be Jews. I would name the names, but I'm running out of time. I'm sorry. So I cannot let this outlet go away, and we as Jews, we cannot let these Jewish outlets go away going forward. This is clearly something that's near and dear to me in my heart. And I will fight for Aish Penn State until its final days, and I hope those final days won't be for a long, long time. Due to how much it is given to me, the students at Penn State now, and what it can give down the road. I challenge every one of you in this room right now to find a cause that is more important to you than anything else in the world like Aish Penn State is to me. If I could do it, if we could do it, why can't you? 5 days, $100,000 with silly, crazy, rambunctious college students. If we could raise $100,000 in 5 days, then I know whatever it is that you want to accomplish in this world, then you can do it too. There's not a shadow of doubt in my mind, because the Vigons, the Grants, and the Molinas pour their hearts out to us in the middle of Pennsylvania, the middle of nowhere, to show us what it means to be a Jew. I want to thank the student volunteers who poured their time, hearts, and energy out into saving our campus. I want to thank the anonymous donors, who unfortunately I couldn't thank in person, for their incredible generosity. If you're in the room, if you're watching online, thank you so much. I want us to conclude by thanking Rabbi Seaberg, Ariel Kotler, and editor-in-chief of Aish.com, Rabbi Nechemi Coopersmith, for allowing me to share this story with you. Thank you, and Shavua Tov.
It was 12 years ago when I spent the summer in Aish HaTorah Yerushalayim teaching in the Beis Medrash program. In that class in the Beis Medrash was a group of young men. Figure if it was 12 years ago, these young men were far older than I was. But the most committed young bunch that I've ever taught or come across in my life. Some of them have gone on to be Aish rabbis on campuses and communities. But one student in that class is who I'd like to speak about tonight. And that was Eric Most. Eric Most came to East Jerusalem, a lawyer, environmental lawyer, successful, who was in Aish, New York, who came on to Aish Jerusalem, who studied and became a rabbi in Aish Torah. It was then that Eric was diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. For the next 12 years, while Eric's health declined, his commitment and productivity within the Aish Torah organization just increased. It was during that time that Eric and his wife, Naomi Rivka, who unfortunately was not able to make it to be here with us this evening, created a program called Destinations, which is a program that trains seminary students and even yeshiva students in outreach, in leadership. All this while Eric was struggling with illness. Every time it seemed that his health declined, Eric would make a full comeback and stronger than ever, more committed to programs. And so many of you in this room, in your branches, while organizing their programs in East Jerusalem, had the great honor of working together with him. No matter how ill, no matter the challenges, we all knew that Eric's dedication continued to grow. February 19th of this year, of 2018, I received an email from Eric Most, and I'd like to share that with you tonight. Shavua Tov, February 17th. Shavua Tov. Reminder about next week. What do you need operations-wise in order to teach your class at Destinations? After a quick back and forth, I was surprised to hear that it was actually Eric who was writing to me. And I said, Eric, is this really you writing? He said, believe me, you have no idea how this makes me feel. It's like coming out of a daze that's lasted months. We realize we've been here in the hospital for about 6 weeks already. Now they're saying getting out by Pesach may be a stretch. So we're hoping they can figure out the pneumonia, which hasn't really changed, and we have to learn to navigate living with a ventilator. It changes life so much. Finally, I need major physical therapy since I can't even move without help. It's crazy. And the graft versus host disease now becomes just one different component of all this. It's pretty crazy, but a huge bracha from Hashem, and we're doing our best to get through it. And I don't know what I would do without my wife navigating everything. The nurses go to her to figure out a lot. They joke that they're putting her on staff. Thanks for your email. I appreciate it. 1 week later, Eric Most left this world. And tonight, although we had wanted his wife, Naomi Rivka, to pay tribute to him, all of us here in Aish Torah know that not a week goes by where his name is not mentioned in creating programs and furthering his programs. And his wife has taken on their Destinations program, which started last week, which the staff sitting here in the room serviced a group that doubled to over 120 students last Saturday night, which he has continued, and we have now dedicated that program in memory of Eric Most. And tonight, all of us here who knew him and those who didn't pay tribute to a man who never let a challenge get in his way of working for the Jewish people. Tonight we pay tribute to Eric Most. Now, at this point of the program this evening, after this entire Shabbos and the messaging, to introduce to you once again the person who really has stepped up to become all of our leaders here, a man who has traveled to every single Aish branch around the world, besides for Australia still to come. A man who's constantly jet-lagged from his tireless efforts to grow and continue to grow Aish HaTorah around the world. It's my great honor, and please, I ask you to give it up for our CEO, Commander-in-Chief, Rabbi Stephen Berg.
Thank you. Thank you, Yossi. Commander-in-Chief, that's a first. Wow, what a weekend. It's really been amazing. I just want to start by saying a few words of thank you. Some of the amazing board members that are here in the room, some of my friends that have supported really my efforts since the beginning. Stuart and Andrea Heitman are sitting right here. Isaac and Edie Gross sitting right here in front of me. Louis Mayberg, Sandy Schiff. And I have to tell you, what makes them amazing is that I come up sometimes with some really interesting ideas, like moving the Partners Conference from Stamford, Connecticut to California, and they always support me. And literally, when I tell them things like this, they just tell me, just let us know when to be there. And it's really amazing that they're always there for us, really making the long trip out here, making sure you're in this room. And I really hope that all of you got tremendous nachas from seeing all of this. And I felt Friday night just walking around the room and seeing all of you. And as Yossi mentioned, I do a lot of traveling. And I have spent a lot of time in your homes. I've slept in your homes. I've been to your Aish shuls. I've been to your Aish branches. I come back and I try and tell the story over and over again, but just sitting in that room Friday night and just seeing all of you together, it was like one big family reunion. It really was very moving. And the Shabbos was incredible. And I just want to thank you, all of you, for your energy. And God willing, next year we'll be back and double the amount of participants, because everyone here is going to bring a friend or two. So thank you. Just wanted for a moment just to discuss one of the great stories of the Bible that we read this morning. It's a story filled with, we have a word in Israel we use called drama. In English, it's drama. But really, it's a drama-filled story of a fight between two brothers. It's a fight that continues really until today. We're all fairly familiar with the story. Yaakov and Esav are born to loving parents, Yitzhak and Rivka. Esav has a bent, a proclivity for violence and doing all the things that are not really a good idea to do. But he respected his father, and his father didn't really know kind of all the bad stuff that was going on. And Yaakov was good, inside and out. And they grew up together, and it came time for Yitzchak to bestow the blessings on the third generation of Jews. The blessings that he had received from Avram, his father. It was time to pass them on down. And he turned to Esav, and he said, Esav, please just go get me some food, go hunting, bring me some food so I can bless you. Rivka, his wife, hears what's going on. She, being the intuitive mother, understands what a colossal disaster it would be for Esav to receive these blessings, to receive the Masorah, the legacy of the Jewish people. And she pulls Yaakov in and says, Yaakov, we've got to go get those blessings.
and she prepares the food quickly before Esav would return. And Yaakov is all nervous. He says, my father, even though he's blind, he's going to know who I am. And she says, I have an idea. We're going to take some of the hair from the animals. We'll put it on your arms so when he touches you, you'll seem very hairy the way Esav is. And don't worry, we'll pull it off. And you know the story. Yaakov walks in, pretends he's Esav. Yitzchak feels his arms, says, wow, this must be Esav, gives him the blessings. He exits out of the room. In comes Esav and says, I'm here, I'm ready for my blessings. And Yitzchak realizes what happened and said, I'm sorry, but the blessings are gone. They were already in the hands of Yaakov. And Esav gets so upset that he decides that he is going to kill his brother. Something that we're familiar with in the Bible from Cain and Abel. Rivka hears what's going on. She takes Yaakov and says, Yaakov, you have to run for your life. And he runs away with nothing, no money, just goes running for her family, running for his life. And I just want to focus for a moment and think about what was going through Yaakov's mind. He had wound up with the blessings. He had done what he had to do, whether he enjoyed it or not. And the Jewish people would continue through Yaakov the way it was destined. But the thought that must have been going through his mind is, I cannot believe that my father was going to give those blessings to Esav. My father, Yitzchak, he was going to give those. He was ready to hand them to Esav. Had I not jumped in there, Esav, the murderer, the killer, the kidnapper, the thief, would have had those blessings. Did my father not believe in me? Did he not understand who I am? Did he not understand who the Jewish people need to be? How could Yitzchak have done what he did? And I believe that Yitzchak was trying to impart an important lesson upon Yaakov. Yitzchak had grown up in the home of Abraham. Abraham had shown up in the world. It was a world that was filled with idolatry. People thought monotheism was a joke. He came to the world and he brought God back into it. And he did it by bringing in all types of people into his home. No matter who you were, no matter what your background. Abraham understood that anyone can come from very far away back to God. What Yitzchak was trying to teach Yaakov was, yes, I get it. I know the problems with Esav. But Yaakov, understand that a Jew is a Jew. And no matter how far they are from the Almighty, they can come back. No matter what they've done, they can come back. No matter how crazy you would think it would be for them to come into a synagogue or a Beis Medrash, they can come back. Esav had the potential to come back. He didn't, but he could have. And Yaakov, you need to understand that your legacy, through thousands of years to come, your children, some of them will wander away. Some of them will go very, very far. Some of them will go to the other ends of the world to escape the Almighty. But understand that they can always come back. And this, I believe, is the mantra of Aish Torah. We believe that we are all brothers and sisters. We believe that we are a family. We believe that when we walk on the airplane and we see the Jew with a kippah, or we see someone with a chai necklace and we give each other a smile, it's because we're family. And Aish Torah has worked hard over 40 years to deliver that message. And we've delivered it with strength from Jerusalem. And what's so powerful about this room right here, right now, is that we know that you are back in your homes delivering that message. Whether it be in Santiago and Buenos Aires, all the way down south, to up in Toronto north, to St. Louis, Detroit, Washington, all the different cities, or even as close as San Diego and LA. You are delivering that message to our brothers and sisters that you're never too far to come back to the Almighty, because our ultimate goal is to bring people back to the Almighty. And we do that by teaching Torah. We are Aish Torah, the fire of Torah. But if someone learns Torah but doesn't come back to the Almighty, Torah is just a means to an end. We always need to come back to the Almighty. And I want to commit to you that Aish Torah will always be there for you. No matter where you are, no matter what help you need. Whether it's in Penn State, like you heard so beautifully, or back home. Whatever program, come to Yerushalayim, we'll roll out the red carpet. But the one issue I think that all of us in this room that we encounter is, although we really want to bring back Jews, sometimes we're too nervous. We're too nervous to bring our friends in. How many of us go to Jewish doctors? How many of us have Jewish lawyers? How many of us have friends? No. I know that I enjoyed this weekend, but it's not really for them. I want to relate a story that I told at the Body and Soul Retreat 2 weeks ago. I wrote it in my email, and I repeated it so many times since then because I thought the lesson was so important. At Aish Torah, we have so many people coming to visit. And recently, we had the Secretary of the Treasury of the United States, Steve Mnuchin, came. And it was a really incredible day. We were very, very close to the embassy, and they had arranged to have a meeting of Israeli CEOs, high-powered Israeli CEOs. I'll tell you, it's very interesting that the person from the embassy told us that many of the CEOs kept calling her, this wonderful non-Jewish woman, asking where the Kotel was. And she just looked at me and said, I'm Catholic, I know where the Kotel is. And that's why, by the way, we have Aish Israel. So we had this meeting set up, and then we were told we were going to get 30 seconds for a picture with Secretary Mnuchin. And he came up, and we go in front of Chihuly to take the picture, and then he spots the balcony. And he says, hold on, and he makes a beeline right outside. Takes out his phone, starts taking pictures like everyone does. And that's when Rabbi Tziel Goldvich, who coordinated the education for this Shabbaton, for this conference, came up to him with an app to show him the Beis HaMikdash where it was, and we wound up sitting out there for 20 minutes. The Secretary of Treasury for 20 minutes is asking every question imaginable about the Beis HaMikdash. First Beis HaMikdash, second Beis HaMikdash, when is the third? You can't imagine, every single, his staff is in the background giving dirty looks to Etiel and I, tapping their watches. But at that moment, we weren't Aish rabbis. He wasn't the Secretary of Treasury. He was just our Jewish brother. And we sat and we talked about the Beis HaMikdash. So if you think when you go back home that the folks that you interact with can't learn Torah, can't come to your house for Shabbos, can't sit and do a mitzvah with you, you're mistaken. And I really want to close just by thanking all of you. This Shabbos has been outstanding. So many of you come up to me and said, so, what do you think? I said, I think it was amazing, but my problem is I'm thinking about next year. How do we replicate this? How do I bring this to more places? How do we build off of this? But I'll tell you, it's not going to work without you. It's not going to work without all of you rolling up your sleeves and helping us figure out this thing together. because I absolutely believe that every Jew can find their way back home. I absolutely believe that the Almighty wants his children back home. And I believe that if we do roll up our sleeves and work together, that the Almighty will help us. That he will help us bring his children back home to him. And eventually we will be able to build the beautiful Beis HaMikdash right across from Aish Torah. Thank you.
I want to thank you all. I want to thank you for an incredible Shabbos. I want to thank you for being our partners in the future of the Jewish people and our partners at Aish Torah. If you were inspired by this weekend, we ask you to join us and be our partners. On your way out, where's Yossi? On the way out, outside to the dinner outside that's ready, there's a table where you could make your commitment this year to Aish Torah, where you could be our partners for next year at Aish Torah, so together we can continue to do the great work we do together. Sarah and Eliezer, on behalf of everybody here, we want to wish you one thing, a lot of simcha, a lot of happiness, and a lot of success. We at Aish Torah love you and thank you for all that you do. Dinner outside.